Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another daily devotion. This devotion I am preparing for Thursday, July 21st of 2022. And yesterday we just got into the 23rd chapter of Matthew. So today we are going to take just a small bite. Depending on the translation we're looking at either 2 or 3 verses, depending on the translation that we're going with. And we'll talk about that. So we're going to look at verses 13 through 15, or is it 13 and 15? Don't know. Um, we'll talk about that. So, without further ado, I will say, this is the beginning of the woes here. And of course, you have differences about how many woes there are because some translations leave a woe out without a woe. But we have several woes. We have multiple woes that Jesus is dealing with here in 23. And as I mentioned yesterday, or in yesterday's devotion, if you don't understand why Jesus was crucified, why they were out to get him, what the problem was, read chapter 23 in Matthew. So let's jump right into 23 verses 13 to 15, or 13 and 15. All right. This is the NRSV UE, the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition I'm reading from, but I'm also going to be interjecting the New King James Version to pick up the verse that we're missing, all right, which is verse 14. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you lock people out of the kingdom of heaven. For you do not go in yourselves, and when others are going in, you stop them. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cross sea and land to make a single convert, and you make the new convert twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. Okay, that is the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition. Let's listen to the New King James Version, which is, this verse 14 is in the King James as well, as some other translations. So, and I didn't look up all of them that include or exclude verse 14. And the thing about verse 14 is that in some manuscripts it shows up right after verse 12, and some it shows up after 13. Probably a gloss, meaning it was added into the text, probably was a margin statement or statement made in the margin. Somebody wrote something in the margin, and somehow through all of the various copying that scribes did through the centuries of copying manuscripts. We didn't always have printing presses, folks. We didn't always have word processors, for pity's sakes. I know the kids today don't understand what a big deal it was when we suddenly had the ability to type things out and to see it on a screen before it was committed to page. I remember the very first machine I saw that did that. My ex-wife, when she was working, and when we were in college, and she worked for the newspaper, or this college newspaper, she was working at this big contraption that was a word processor, and it was so cool that I think it was three or four lines of text could show on the screen before it was committed to the machine, and she could go back and correct it. How cool that was. You don't realize what that was like. But my point being, I belabor that, the point being is that it was easy to make mistakes when you're handwriting it, and easy to have things like that. So apparently we had this margin, something written in the margin over here. At some point somebody said, oh, that was supposed to be in here, and they didn't get it when they copied it. They missed it, so it got brought over in. Those kinds of things, we do know of those kinds of things. It's probably a gloss, not that it doesn't have some meaning to it. It is I like that verse. So let's listen to it without further ado. Matthew 23, 13 to 15, including verse 14, in the New King James Version. All right. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you will receive greater condemnation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. And of course, hell is Gehenna, is what they're talking about. It's an actual physical place. All right. Here, the verse 14, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you receive greater condemnation. there's two things going on there. One is similar to what we talked about yesterday, where the great show of making big prayers and wanting the proper seats and banquets and whatnot, and the phylacteries, I can't talk here today again, that they would wear on their head. All of those things for show. And part of this is that, again, he's talking about the pretense of making long prayers. But the other one is that for political or personal gain, not political gain, personal gain, financial gain, they're devouring widows' houses. They're getting people to give things that they don't have the means to give. They're convincing them, you need to do that to get into the kingdom of heaven. So that's a bad thing. Okay, but back to verses 13 and 15, which probably tie into each other much more closely, and that's why 14 gets dropped. Besides the fact that it appears in a couple different places, and it's not at all in some manuscripts. The majority of manuscripts, the oldest and the best, it's not there. Is that, but woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you lock people out of the kingdom of heaven. For you do not go in yourselves, and when others are going in, you stop them. The idea there is that you're actually blocking people's salvation. And of course, here we look at this as that they are trying to bring people to be their brand, their type of Pharisee, because not all Pharisees are bad, mind you. Again, we think the fairly common belief that Jesus was a Pharisee, at least I believe that. Let's put it that way. But many scholars believe Jesus was a Pharisee. And Christianity definitely comes out of the Pharisee movement. It doesn't come out of the Sadducee movement for sure. The point is that the idea was that they're trying to create them into their form of Pharisee rather than to be a good Jew. But I think we can apply that to ourselves today with great concern on our part. What kind of Christian are we creating? Are we actually creating Christians, or are we creating people that think like us because we've done such a good job of rationalizing away our sin? We're convinced in order to minimize my sin, I create more people that think the same way I do, that sin's not a sin, and so therefore by virtue of weight of numbers, it's not a sin no more, even though Scripture says it is. That's the point. Woe to us. Are we creating people that on paper appear to be Christians, but in their heart and in their belief system, they're really not a Christ follower? Have we then made a single convert? Have we brought people to the fold simply to cover our own heinies, so to say? We could use a different word there, won't though, because this is a religious context. But the old cowboy in me could perhaps think of a different word there. But we're going to cover our own heinies here, because the more people we bring in to think the way we want to think, in order to cover our sin away, to blend it away, to hide it away, so that we don't feel engendered or guilty from it. I see this I think I see this personally. I think this is part of the reason some people are pro-choice, is because they, in a moment of weakness, have had an abortion, and by bringing more people onto the board, the more people that have an abortion, the more easy it is for them to justify their actions, even though in their heart of hearts they know it was not right. I think it's the same way with a lot of the sins, on a just as dangerous of a level. It's not any more severe. We want to wash away that sin by pretending it's not a sin. We rationalize it away. And again, I think woe is definitely to us. We have made a convert, but we've made them twice as much a child of hell as ourselves. It's not necessarily a nice and sweet and making you feel good kind of a devotion that Pastor Roy did today, and I apologize for that. It's a short little bit of scripture, either 2 or 3 verses, depending again on a translation. But I think there's some weight there, and there's some things that we need to think about. Are we really bringing people to God, or are we doing things? Are we guilty of trying to profit from it? With verse 14, Are we guilty of trying to profit from it emotionally, not spiritually? I can't say that because we're not profiting spiritually. It's to our detriment spiritually. It's very much to the detriment of the people that we bring in, giving them that same teaching that we're guilty of failing upon. All right, I think that's enough. I think you get the point. I will leave you with the words from Paul in Galatians, which is my favorite letter of Paul's. This is the New King James Version, just because I had it up with Bible Gateway when I looked up Galatians chapter 1, verses 6 to 10. And I'll leave you with these words. I marvel that you're turning away so soon from him who called you in the grace of Christ to a different gospel, which is not another, but there are some who trouble you and want to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed. For do I now persuade man or God, or do I seek to please men? For if I still pleased men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. Okay, point being, are we really listening to the true gospel, or we listen to a gospel that we want what we want? We want this watered down sort of thing, this thing that absolves us from our sins by somehow claiming a sin is not a sin when it is, in fact, it is. So, God bless you. Please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. If you like this devotion, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you back again. All right. God bless. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.